morning, good morning. Oops, what am I doing here? Hi, how are you? How's it going? Hey Susan, hi Kiana. Kiana, I'm so glad your package has finally showed up. I know I still owe you a replacement for something and I'm getting to all those replacements ASAP. Don't worry, I have your email, so that hasn't gone forgotten or anything like that. But I'm glad your package has finally showed up because that's a more like concerning issue. Like missing packages is harder than like fixing a slime, right? You know what I mean? Like I can replace a slime, like okay, whatever, no big deal. But like continuously missing packages are like a larger frame issue, which I hate. I hate the big like, where are all the packages? You had an early coffee. Well, very exciting. So I was thrilled to hear that they actually showed up. Which again is why I'm sending advent calendars earlier this year, because I don't trust the mail. You're all good and take your time. I was shocked. Like literally we have no idea why they do what they do with the mail, Kiana. I could not explain it. If I took every last breath of my body, I could not explain USPS as a system. It's so backwards. Morning, Avery. Like sometimes I look at the way that they like some of the stuff and I'm like, what are we even talking about here? Like especially when like Shara helps me submit claims. Like I pay Shara to do a lot of like admin work for me because like I can't do everything obviously, and she submits claims for like missing packages all the time, and the way that they respond to some of these, I'm like, are you all listening? Do you see how the tracking shows that it hasn't arrived yet? Why do I need to give you proof that it hasn't arrived when your employee is saying it hasn't arrived? You know what I mean? Like, why? And also they're like, can you prove the package didn't show? What do you want me to do? Take a picture of my empty hands without the package in it? Like, what are we doing here? Becca share some safe from accident. Oh, fair enough. So anyway, that is it's crazy. I was baffled because 2 packages left at the same time and not yeah, it maybe. Usually, like if I'm mailing a bunch of stuff, like I take a ton of packages at the same time. Like we're talking like, usually I take about 50 packages to the post office a day, and the disparity in which they show up to people who live in similar areas is wild, you guys. There are people in our group, I don't know if Gigi's going to be here this morning. Gigi's a book club member also. She lives, I don't know, an hour and a half from here. An hour and a half from my home. And her most recent package took 10 days to get to her. Hey, Grayson. I could have walked it there faster. She lives an hour and a half away. I've literally done more than that in like marathon running. Why is it taking 10 days? I love Gigi also. This is not about Gigi. I mean, it is about Gigi because of her dresses, but like, hey, no, this is book club, Jocelyn. We never make slime during this time. This is always book club in the morning. Slime is always in the afternoon and evening. Book club is always in the morning. For almost 2 full years, we are doing it every morning. It's just strange to me that they're like screwing it up this badly. How is it possible that I could walk a package there faster than it could get there when I pay them to deliver it to her? That's what I want to know. I want that information. Sorry, I never saw you before. I didn't mean to be mean. Oh, you weren't being mean at all, Jocelyn, but you were here yesterday at this time. Remember? Hey, so Mabel and I were looking at the calendar. 37 days. 37 days. Guys, my sister-in-laws are coming to visit me in less than like a month and a half. So that is very exciting. They're coming to visit us for Christmas, which I'm very excited about. I am not by any means a religious person, but I am a Christmas hound. Like I can never get enough of Christmas. So 24/7 is, yes, that's Anya. That's exactly right. Anya changed her username. So we are big excited. We are big Christmas family. Big. I love Christmas. I love the decor. I love the music. I love the movies. I love the vibes. I love watching people open presents that I got for them. I love the whole thing. So I am a big Christmas fan. So excited to have family with us for Christmas. The cat went in my sleeve and it scared me because it didn't make a noise when it fell. You know, you expect if you drop something that you're gonna like hear it on the floor, and I didn't hear it, and that's why it shocked me. Good morning, Amanda. Amanda, do we have any updates on your numbers? That was funny, you guys. Every time I drop something, I expect to hear like a or whatever, and I didn't hear anything. Dude, Claire, I was stressed this morning, y'all. That was stressful. You know what it taught me? That like the way, okay, so there are two things involved in this. First of all, gestational diabetes is not your fault. If you get diagnosed with gestational diabetes, do not take it as a personal failing. You did not do anything wrong. Okay, so I want to preface by saying that because I don't want anyone to think that I think it's a personal failing if somebody has those things. I do not believe that. But I eat a certain way very consistently, and yesterday was an inconsistent food day for me, and so the fact that it changed my numbers so drastically was very eye-opening, right? Because even though I eat a certain way for my own benefit, I've never known how it really affected things, and seeing like concrete proof of that effect, I was like, oh, that's why I do that. Lost his IV again, couldn't get live yet, hopefully. Oh, good Lord. Monday still feels so far to me, Amanda. It's just, the whole thing is really interesting and eye-opening. Like when you look at all the numbers laid out, you kind of learn a lot about your daily life, your habits, your whatever, you know, outside of like I think there were a lot of people in my comments in like the early videos about this testing that were trying to compare the testing to regular like type 1 or type 2 diabetes, but it's not the same, right? Because gestational diabetes is a completely different ball game. Now, I don't think I have gestational diabetes. My numbers do not indicate that I have it. That being said, it's still a very interesting test. Gestational diabetes, it makes no sense, Susan. They're not even close to the same. I completely agree, Amanda. And I was trying to explain that to some people in the comments because they were like, oh, you have to do this and this and that. And I was like, I think that's for like regular type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and that's not what I'm testing for. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different ball game. Everyone had like all these things, and I was like, I don't think they understand the differences, which is fine. I don't expect everyone to know everything, but like, you know, it's just one of those things. And I think especially, so like I'm in a couple of due date groups on Facebook. When I eat watermelon, it sends my sugar sky high. See, I don't have that problem with any fruit. Fruit doesn't affect my numbers at all. I can eat literally pounds of fruit and I have perfectly even numbers. My body processes fruit beautifully. I still feel an amazing club. I'm gonna go to get, oh yes, go enjoy, Kiana. We'll see you later. If you're bored later, I might be on for slime stuff. But there's so many women in my due date groups that like feel so much shame around their diagnoses and things like that. Yeah, me too, Amanda. I don't blame you. But I feel so so deeply for them because they could not. I couldn't even eat 1/4 of a cup of white rice. That's what happened to me last night, Susan. Not even joking you. I didn't even finish my Chipotle bowl. I barely ate half of it. Barely ate half of it. I feel you, Susan. That's literally the same situation that happened to me yesterday. I was like, what is happening? It was a wild change. Guys, my highest after dinner number before yesterday was 100, and then magically it's 134. That's a massive difference. Oh my gosh, yes, this mug is so cute, Amy. It was, I think it's from Disneyland. It was a gift from my friend Shira. But not even all starches, Mary. That's the wild thing. It's not even all starches. The rice was like, you know? I was like, okay, well, we're not. Hey, Gigi, we were actually just talking about, well, we were talking about one of your orders, but not you directly, but like I was using you as an example for mail things. But that's neither here nor there. Hello. Hey, Ray. Brown rice was fine. I haven't tried brown rice in this pregnancy, not for lack of enjoying it, just it's not something we eat on a regular basis. And yes, Anya was also you eat a lot of rice. I don't, Amanda. I don't at all. We have rice maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, but we usually cook it at home. And, you know, it really just makes you wonder, right? A little bit, you know? I don't know. That's crazy. I've never had a sugar problem. Mine's, yeah. I just, it was a very eye-opening set of numbers. That's all I'm gonna say. I know that it's not indicative of like all situations for all people by any stretch of the imagination, but for me personally, it definitely told me a lot about my own system, right? And what I can handle. So on some level, I kind of almost wish that more people could do the test just for their own edification, right? Like, it's very different than, I'm wondering if it's because it's not a normal thing for your body. Right. I think that's exactly correct, Amanda. I think that's exactly what it is that it's not a part of how I usually eat. And so my body was like, what is this? You know what I mean? I assume. I don't really know. Good morning, Naisa. Really quickly before we start reading, I did want to touch base with you all about Monday. I know that that seems far away, but we don't have book club tomorrow, so I need to tell you now, and I will make this announcement on Patreon as well. But Monday, we are going to have book club 30 minutes early. And the reason for that is that I have a meeting at 9 a.m. with Patreon, and 9 a.m. was the only time that they could do. So we will just push book club to be at 8 instead of 8:30 so that I could finish before 9 and get to that meeting. However, if you are unable to make the earlier time for some reason, of course I will upload it right away, no problem. I think it's a good thing though, Amanda. They invited me to a new Patreon program that they're just starting, and I think it's good for all of us. Like, remember, I don't know if any of you who are in here were on Patreon at the beginning. The chats didn't used to exist, and we were among like the first 10 people to get the chat feature. And I don't have to pay extra for that. Like, most people have to pay extra to have features like that on their Patreon, but we just get unlimited chats. So like, it's always good for me to stay in touch with them. I know that they're not perfect, but they're like trying to do, oh, no worries, Maggie, so we'll upload it. You know, there's so much growth in what they've been doing, and the fact that they're trying and they're listening to us. Oh no, I knew you were, Amanda. No, I'm not. I didn't think you weren't. Just is such a benefit, especially if we accidentally, well, not accidentally, at the fault of a lot of people, if we lose this platform in January, we need to have a backup system. So I'm really glad for us to be in with them and maybe like figure out other ways to like do stuff there. You know what I mean? Because it's a safer bet. You know, we don't get flagged for anything. They're on our side. Like, it's a good space. They're nice to us, you know, and we have direct lines of contact to them. So there's a lot of things that every time they ask me to participate in a program, I'm like, yeah, we probably should. So that's why I'm going to this meeting. They have a, I don't know if it'll ever be like a TikTok because it is a monetized platform, Roxy, which is a little different. And most people who use Patreon don't use it the way that I do. Most people who use Patreon for their stuff just have like a podcast and they give you like a bonus episode or whatever like that. I'm one of the few people that's sending physical products. So like when you join my Patreon, you get something physical, generally speaking, unless you're getting just the classes, which I guess is physical in its own way. But regardless, neither here nor there. I am going to be doing a lot more. If any of you are not signed up on Patreon, consider signing up for the free level of Patreon sometime this week, because I am working with Patreon to expand the free levels of Patreon for just the reason that Anya and Roxy were talking about just now. Because if we lose TikTok, I'll be using the free membership on Patreon as kind of like a way to let people know what's going on. So even if you don't want the monthly slime, it's worth signing up for the free membership just to get that once a month little, hey, this is what's going on information, and it costs you nothing. So, and I don't like spam or anything like that. Not like over here. I don't know, Roxy. I haven't even had a chance to really look at the platform. It's a lot. There's like so much going on in my life that I haven't had time to check out that new app, but I will look at it whenever I have a free moment. I really have to get through the advent calendars before I can take on anything new, but I did download it and I will look at it. So anyway, if you have not joined my Patreon, even if you don't want to pay for it, definitely consider joining the free level just for the information. There's going to be a lot more information both from me and from Patreon in the coming months, so that's a bonus, I think, for everybody. Free information never hurt anyone, right? We always want more info. So that's good. Also, if anyone hasn't joined Patreon yet, we might be having a Black Friday sale. Oh, what? Oh, gosh. Did I say that out loud? No, never. Okay. So let's go ahead and read chapter 12. And this looks like it's one of the shorter chapters, so maybe if the next chapter is also a short one, maybe we do 2 again, because it's a Saturday and we deserve to treat ourselves just a little bit. But let's read chapter 12. Poppy woke to an unfamiliar bed being rattled by snores. The latter was not completely unknown to her, but usually the snorer was Malkin or one of the other animals she lived with. The former was not as it had been in her student days. This wasn't Claudia's bed, which had always smelled of perfume and the peculiar vegan fabric softener that she used. No, it wasn't sweaty, boozy sheets of a one-night stand or the cheap mattress of an unwashed pillow in student digs. It was a pleasantly fragrant, extremely comfortable bed with a fluffy duvet and excellent pillows. It also contained someone who could snore for Britain. Her recollections of the last night being somewhat tangled with a nightmare, Poppy forced herself up through the layers of sleep and turned her head. The room was dimly lit by morning light through curtains, but not so dark that she couldn't see Alex beside her. He was handsome even now, his damp hair tangled around his face, his lashes making long shadows on his cheeks. He lay on his back, mouth open, snoring and gargling in his sleep. Well, at least there's one flaw to prove that he's actually a human, Poppy thought to herself, and then she nudged him. And when he didn't stop snoring, she gave his shoulder a shove. Too late. She remembered someone whacking him with the length of wood last night, and he came awake with a strangled gasp, reaching to rub the offended joint. Ow! Sorry. His eyes crunched up, and then he opened them a tiny bit. Poppy? He said. Yeah? He made a sound and rolled over, and then frowned and tugged at his arm. Poppy realized that her hair had been twined around it in a manner definitely that had not been accidental. Can I have my arm back? He mumbled. Oh, yeah, wait, sorry. She tugged at her mane, which curled back around his arm. Give me a... Alex opened his eyes more fully then, and he looked down at her hair and then up at her, and he smiled. A lazy, comforting, comfortable smile that turned Poppy's insides to jelly. It's taking me prisoner, he said. It does it seems to like you, Poppy said, and then she gave up. and when she lay back down, her hair curled more firmly around his arm, as if to pull her closer to him. Ow, stop that, it hurts. Alex grinned at her and turned on his side, pulling her against his chest. Her hair settled down, and Poppy fancied if it could make noises that it would probably be purring. I think your hair and I are in agreement, Alex murmured. Poppy shifted in his arms, and she appeared to have fallen asleep last night after her shower wearing absolutely nothing. And from the feel of it, Alex, who had gallantly let her go first in the shower, hadn't even suggested sharing and had done the same. And he was definitely appreciative of her nakedness. She could feel exactly how appreciative he was. Well, hello, she said. His cheeks pinkened a little. Sorry, just ignore that. I can't help it. You probably could help it, Poppy said. No, the thing is, Rapunzel, he said, gazing at her with those impossibly blue eyes, when it comes to you, I literally can't help it. He had one brawny arm wrapped around her back, and her hair was almost petting that arm. Her fingers were definitely stroking his chest, and she was in full control of those. Poppy had to admit her reason for abstaining were becoming harder to remember. And then she saw the bruise developing on his shoulder and the little cut above his eyebrow, and she remembered what had happened last night and why it happened. She felt her body draw away from him, and then he let her go, looking puzzled. I didn't mean it like that, he said. I can control myself, you know. I do promise that. Yeah, but can I? Suddenly cold, Poppy pulled the duvet up over herself, shrouding her nakedness from his view. She couldn't even look at his face, his beautiful face. So instead of focusing on him, she looked at her hair that had developed a bit of a weird kink from being slept on. Alex, last time we... It was really good, Alex corrected her, his eyes warm. Yeah, okay, it was really hot, Poppy corrected him back, trying not to think about exactly how good it had been. But then what happened? He shrugged. Oh, an adventure? Adventure? Was he an idiot, she thought? We almost died. They tried to kill us. Well, I'm sure we'd have figured something. They threw a pike at your head. It would have been like Game of Thrones. Splatter, brain everywhere. Yes, but that didn't happen, Alex said calmly, because you did your witchy mojo thing and you saved us. Which mojo? Her voice was rising to hysteria. I don't even... Listen, that's not the point. Listen to me. A few streets away from where we were shagging like bunnies, the Great Fire of London just happened to break out. Do you think that's a coincidence? Alex looked nonplussed. Well, he said, yes, I do. That all that power and heat and my total inability to control myself had absolutely nothing to do with the raging inferno devouring this entire city? Well, the fire did start by accident, Alex said. Wasn't it in a pie shop or something, right? Bakery, Poppy said distractedly. Don't you see? We started the fire, Alex, you and me. Or more to the point, me, enabled by you. Enabled, said Alex. Yes, when you... Alex rose his eyebrows. Beeped your brains out. Despite that being completely true, Alex being naked beside her in bed, Poppy felt herself blush. Poppy, look, I'm not saying it wasn't amazing, because it absolutely was, and I'm sure you've had something like that before. No, not quite like that, she thought, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. His ego was already big enough. Did anything ever happen like this before to you, even small, like curtains catching on fire or something, scorched bed sheets? He was laughing at her, and Poppy glowered. I'm serious. Yeah, so am I. If it's never I'm serious, she said. So am I. If it's never happened to you before, why do you assume that that's the cause now? Because I was all juiced up, magically speaking, Poppy said, and her face was probably scarlet by now. And you've never done beep boop after magic before? No, I mean, not really. She'd never done anything like this with anyone before. What if they did this again and something even worse happened this time? Then why just assume it was with me? Speaking scientifically, that doesn't really make much sense. Poppy looked at him sideways. Scientifically speaking? Alex, be real, you're an actor. Hey, look, I took science in high school. We should test the hypothesis, he said. What are you even talking about? We might have just started the Great Fire of London. What, because we're so hot?
He mimed making a telephone call. "Hello, Kings of Leon. Our sex was literally on fire. Do you have any advice for us?" "That's not funny, Poppy." He reached out and touched her cheek. "You know that can't possibly be true. The Great Fire of London is a historical fact, and we were streets away from it when it happened." "Yeah, only streets away. 100 yards at best. Look, I know that you're going to say I'm overreacting, but listen. What's happened whenever I've been with you? The ghost money, the figureheads, the bloody Great Fire of London." Alex looked like he wanted to argue that, but it didn't seem wise at this time. "The stage accident. Your whole show was canceled." He looked away at that, his blue eyes shuddering. "You said that it was the cursed pendant that did that." "Yeah, and Fiona said that we should have lifted the curse before the pendant was destroyed." Alex shrugged, as well as a person can while they're lying down. "It's not our fault it was destroyed. Are you telling me that the curse flew out and disseminated itself all over the central line?" "Well, it would certainly explain a lot, wouldn't it?" "About the central line, maybe," Alex conceded. "But what happened at the Cuddy Stock was nowhere near the central line. And it's on the DLR. And Tower Hill is on the circle," Poppy supplied. "But you're 2 minutes from Tower Gate, and then it joins the branch, and it goes to..." Alex looked utterly lost. Clearly he hadn't been in London long if he didn't walk around with a map of the tube in his head like practical Londoners did. "To the bank," she said, "where you change for every bloody line, right there, including Central." "Poppy." Alex rolled onto his back and rubbed her face, her hair having agreed to spare his arm in this moment. "Are you telling me that the curse has an oyster pass to the tube?" "Don't be ridiculous," Poppy said. "I'm just saying..." But what was she saying? It sounded ridiculous even to her own ears. She turned away from him, her eyes suddenly burning in a way that had nothing to do with last night's smoke. "You know why the pendant was cursed in the first place?" Alex was silent for a moment, and then he said, "No, you told me it was an accident." "Yeah, an accident because, well," she thought, "because Claudia was wrapped around another woman, snogging her as if her life depended on it, a woman in a designer dress with a job that required a briefcase and the sort of woman that she would take home to meet her parents." "It was something about your ex," he said. Poppy's hair covered her face like a curtain. "I saw her with someone else, and I was just a little bit drunk, and I don't really remember what happened, but the pendant, it got cursed." Alex sighed. You got pissed and you did something stupid, Poppy. That's literally the story of everyone's 20s. "Yeah, but most people don't have special chaos magic," Poppy sobbed. His hands touched her shoulder and her hair shrugged him off. "Most of the time I can stop the really bad stuff from happening, but don't you see? When I got upset about Claudia, the pendant got cursed, and it's been unleashed and unleashing chaos all over London. And then when the chaos happened before we had Beep Boop Poppy," Alex reminded her gently, "because of the pendant. And then the worst bit happened when we did." There was a pause. "Is that really what you think?" Alex said to her. Poppy, who was sobbing now, could only make a muffled sound. She liked Alex. She really liked him. His sense of humor, the way he smiled, the scent of his skin, the absolute fire that he stoked in her when he put his hands or his mouth on her. But she couldn't risk everything for a nice smile and some amazing biceps. "Where were you on 9/11? Asked Alex. That was a surprising question, enough to halt her tears. "What? What does that have to do with literally anything?" "I saw it on the morning news," he said. "It was like a weird movie. It didn't even seem real. Do you remember when it happened?" "Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Mom told me when she picked me up from school. All the teachers had been really weird and I didn't understand why." "And where were you?" "I was at school. I told you that." And when he said nothing, she rolled on her back and glared at him. "In North Hampshire." Alex laid on his side and just watched her. "Right. And had you just broken up with an ex that day?" She sighed impatiently. "I was 6 years old. I know what you're trying to do right now." "Do you? What about the London tube bombings then? A few years later, was it? Where were you when those happened?" "At school. A teacher called us in for a special assembly. Her mom had done a lot of praying that weekend. We lived in Oxford at that time," she added. "Oxford? Broken up with anyone that week, had you? Gotten drunk? Angry about something, perhaps?" "Can you just make the point you're trying to make here?" "My point is that sometimes stuff just happens, Poppy, and it's not all because of you. And honestly, it's kind of arrogant that you assume that it is." "Arrogant? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What about the fall of Rome, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, in the media that killed all the dinosaurs? Did you travel back in time to them when you failed an exam, or tried beer for the first time, or had your first beep boop?" Poppy crossed her arms and then glared at the ceiling. "No, she said sulkily. Then why did you think the Great Fire of London was your fault? She risked a glance at him, and then, well, he was so annoying just lying there, being so very reasonable and logical. How dare he? He's an actor, she told herself. He's a fake, a pretend magician. He's absolutely in love with himself. What does that make you think that he can't also be right, though? She thought. All right, she said, but it's a hell of a coincidence. You do have to admit that. Sure, said Alex, but maybe you should go and ask some of your witch pals before you jump to conclusions. She caused chaos. It was what she always did. And since she'd met Alex, the chaos had intensified. They'd had Beep Boop, explosive, amazing Beep Boop, and then everything had gone insane. But it was going insane before that, a little voice did remind her. A little voice that sounded suspiciously like Alex's in this moment. And nothing bad had happened when they kissed, or that time that she saw him fresh from the shower wearing just a towel and nearly spontaneously combusted on the spot. She sniffed and wiped at her eyes. This doesn't mean that we can just start doing it again, okay? She said. Alex's mouth turned up a little at the corners and his eyes damn near twinkled. I should talk to Iris first, Poppy said. No, of course, he added. She eyed him suspiciously. He was smiling at her, and the duvet had fallen back to reveal that absurdly chiseled chest of his, all muscular and naked, those bold, swirling tattoos like a maze that she wanted to trace with her tongue. Oh, Poppy, please contain yourself, girl. Alex, she said warningly. I said, of course, he protested, rolling those big, broad shoulders of his. I respect your boundaries. Yes. She shouldn't feel disappointed in this moment. That was stupid. 5 minutes ago, she'd convinced herself that she could never do this with him again or anyone else again because she shouldn't be thinking about what his chest would taste like. No, she cleared her throat. We should get dressed and go thank our host, whoever he is. Yes, good plan, said Alex and looked around the room. Wait, dressed in what? Poppy winced. That was an own goal. Avery said that he'd do what he could with their clothes. But they'd been pretty wrecked, and there was no sign of them now. Oh my God, you guys, I completely forgot that they were at Beldam House. I completely forgot. I thought that they were at Alex's house when I started reading the beginning of this chapter. They're totally at Beldam House, you guys. We're about to get our friends back. I forgot. Alex's phone and wallet were on the bedside table, but that's all that was there. Oh dear, Alex said cheerfully, and he threw back the duvet. I guess I could maybe wrap a sheet around me and go see what's going on. He stood and stretched extravagantly. What do you think? Should I do it? Poppy told herself not to look at him. He was doing this on purpose, and they both knew it. She had no self-control, and damn it, she did not need to look at... Okay, there was just his face, and he was smirking. That was a turnoff. She did not want to see him smirk. Damn it, and then her gaze sunk helplessly down to his chest. Well, that wasn't a turnoff, not by any stretch of the imagination. His tattoos are silly, that's what she told herself, but they weren't. They weren't really silly. Those strong curving lines made him look like some kind of ancient warrior come to life. He had a bruise on his shoulder, ripening nicely into multicolors, and she should have felt bad about that, but she was already moving on to looking at his abs, and those, what were they called? Those sort of like arrows that pointed at the hip bones, that seemed to point down to, oh, holy shit, she whispered to herself. Yeah, probably wouldn't do to walk around a stranger's house completely naked, Alex said, as if this was an actual discussion point of etiquette with her. Could you help me get the sheet off the bed? Poppy could not. She laid there staring at him helplessly. Hello, Poppy. Did you, she croaked and then swallowed, pointing at him. Did you have that last night? Alex looked down at his groin. Yes, he said. They're not, interchangeable. I didn't swap it out for a date night version. This is the only one I have. But it's... Alex put his hands on his hips and waited, which didn't help because he was basically just framing the darn thing now, and it was practically sitting up and waving at her. All the words went through Poppy's head were extremely unhelpful words, like massive, stupendous, and could batter down a door. It's not physically possible, she managed, and she used her own hand to push her face. I know, right, Mary? Away. Her eyes stayed on it, though, like a dancer doing a pirouette. Well, it felt pretty physically possible last night, Alex said. No. Poppy put her hair in front of her face. Nuh-uh, nope, can't, nope. I'm never going to do anything with you again. Not now that I've seen it. Alex was laughing. The bastard. How do you even get protection on that thing? She moaned, covering her face with her hands for good measure. Well, I think this is the most backhanded compliment I've ever been paid, he said. She felt the bed dip as he got back onto it, and he was reaching for her, and she scrambled away, not sure if she was serious or not, because her hair was all over her face and misjudged the size of the bed, and then she toppled over onto the floor. Poppy. He was still laughing as he climbed over the bed and looked down at her. Are you all right? Oh, God, it was even worse from this angle. There was a tap at the door. Hey, is everything all right now? I heard, Their host took in Alex kneeling on the bed, and Poppy sprawled on the floor in an extremely naked state of both of them, and said brightly, Never mind, so sorry, and closed the door with a very decisive click. The key on the inside of it turned. Poppy curled into a ball and moaned. She felt Alex taking her hand and pulled her up off the floor, and she went with him because, well, why not? No, I don't want to join your live, whoever you are. Right? Yeah. I'd like to talk to you about your extended warranty on your insurance. Don't run from the Lord. Sorry. He was going to club her to death with that thing, which had clearly doubled in size overnight. In the unlikely event that she survived, it would probably trigger the apocalypse. Alex laid her head on his lap, which didn't exactly help matters, and gently rubbed her back until she could feel her head lift, and she looked at him in the eye. Damn him, damn him, damn him. She could feel that absurd thing throbbing against her backside, and even as she told herself logically that the physics of the situation were completely impossible, her hormones decided that the opposite was true. Well, it did feel pretty good last night, she reminded herself. We did really enjoy ourselves. Shut up, Poppy muttered, trying to ignore the definite warmth inside certain areas of her body. I didn't say anything, said Alex, but he didn't need to, because his body was doing the talking, and it had been making a pretty convincing argument. This is not physically possible, she said, even though her body disagreed with her strenuous terms, and started flagrantly rubbing herself all over him. Not that I'm not flattered, Alex said, his voice breaking a little as she brushed herself against him. But do you actually mean that? You sound like you... Poppy wanted to say that she did mean it, but it didn't appear she was even in control anymore. Her back arched, offering herself to him, and her hair had the pretense of becoming completely prehensile? I don't know this word. Wrapping around Alex as if to keep her where it was, and Poppy gave up. You'll probably be the death of me, she said, swinging her leg over his. Oh, wow. Alex looked up at her, sitting there, biting her lip, and he tried not to moan. Try not to be the death of you. We might start the apocalypse, she said. Well, I'm willing to take that chance, I suppose. And she looked at him, with his absurdly handsome face and perfect body, and then she peeked down further and said, Do you have any more protection? And Alex grinned and tossed her onto her back, laughing as he reached for his wallet. Do you have to order them specially made? She said, lying there and watching him. Keep up that sweet talk and this will be all over too soon, darling, he said. What sweet talk? Poppy said. But then beep boop beep boop beep boop beep 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 boop beep boop beep 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 boop beep boop beep boop beep boop beep 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 boop boop. Beep 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 boop boop beep boop boop beep boop beep boop beep 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 boop 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 beep boop 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 beep boop 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 boop. He's like, what is this song that she's singing? Hello to Sophie's husband. Hold on, I'm trying to find a place where we can start reading again. They're talking a lot about piercings right now. Apparently she has a belly button piercing or something of that nature. I'm trying to get back to Avery. Okay, well that was the end of that chapter. So let's see. This next chapter is short also, so we can read the next chapter and hopefully we'll get something that we can actually read in this chapter. Yeah, right, Alex? Chill out a little, bro. Okay, so this is chapter 13. Hopefully more Avery, less beep boop. We're about to find out. Chapter 13. Granted, the whole idea of magic being real was still new to Alex, but he was quite astonished to find that Avery had left their clothes outside the bedroom door, not only cleaned and pressed, but restored to perfect order. No rips, no mud, or bodily excretions. This suit even smelled good. Do you think he takes orders? He asked Poppy as they tried to navigate the house. Finding the main staircase was enough of a trial, and the rooms led into one another's. Corridors twisted and turned and ended abruptly. Doors frequently opened into just walls, and eventually a large hairy dog took pity on them and appeared to communicate to Poppy how to get down the stairs. So you can talk to animals? Alex asked. Well, anyone can talk to animals, Poppy said. It's understanding what they're saying that's the trick. A trick you can do? She shrugged. Poppy, he stopped her halfway down the stairs. You know how amazing you are, don't you? Her gaze slid away from him. I'm not even a very good witch, she said. Shut up. I've been faking this stuff for half of my life, and you can just do it without even thinking. You're an absolute miracle. Her cheeks pinkened, and she nudged him, embarrassed. Alex kissed her cheek, and the two of them turned the corner where the stairs split into two. An enormous painting faced them. Is that Lilith, the woman who rescued us last night? Alex peered at it. Lilith smoldered from the painting, still dressed in red, with her hair in glamorous waves. Behind her, airships filled the painted sky. Why is she dressed like Rita Hayworth? Oh, sorry. Why is she dressed like Rita Hayworth? Because it's an excellent look, said Poppy, and he did suppose he agreed. It wasn't as good of a look as Poppy's wild hair and green dress and bare feet, though. Alex supposed that she could probably wear a Haitian sack. I don't actually know if that's the word. Hessian, sack. I don't know that word. And the entrails of her enemies, and he'd still find her irresistible at this point. Ew. He was becoming aware that he was absolutely infatuated with her. He held her hand as they continued cautiously down the stairs to the strange front hall, the strangest front hall he'd ever seen. There was a fire roaring under the stairs with no sign of a chimney, and the mantelpiece was covered with a dozen little dolls, some of them knitted, some of them sewn, some clearly fashion dolls repurposed for, well, honestly, he didn't know what. They were not children's dolls. That much was pretty clear. Twining around the staircase were branches of a willow tree, which appeared to be growing out of the floor. An umbrella stand by the door had several broomsticks in it. A spider web up in the corner appeared to be containing a portrait of Anne Boleyn. The dog gave up a yip, and one of the many doors opened to reveal a massive, truly cavernous kitchen. The sort that you saw in, period dramas staffed by dozens of people in corsets with a big fireplace enough to roast a whole pig on a spit, that kind of thing. Currently, however, it only held one person, who wore a pinafore dress and a chignon, and appeared to be consulting a very large old book while stirring in a huge mixing bowl. Hello, we're looking for Avery. The woman looked up and smiled. Her lipstick was a frosted blue, and her nails had little skulls on them. Ah, you found me. Alex hesitated. Beside him, so did Poppy. Gender fluidity takes on an extra dimension when you're a witch. Are you hungry? I have crumpets and raisin bran muffins. How did you know? Alex and Poppy both said at once. Alex hadn't had crumpets for breakfast in literally years, and if Avery also had Nutella, he would be in seventh heaven. Avery shrugged. Oh, it's what I do. I know what people want, and I know how to make it. Like a fairy godmother? Said Poppy, taking a seat at the massive table. Oh, if you like to call me a fairy godmother. And did you, make us new clothes, or did you... Avery laughed. Do you really want to know what I did? I got you some shoes too, Poppy, and a shawl, because honestly it is a bit nibbly out there. She paused, and she said with a gentle meaning, consider them a gift from your Essex cousins. Beldam House always provides whatever you need. Poppy nodded, but she seemed nonplussed as Alex by that. I have some salve for them bruises too, Avery said. Pitchfork mob, was it? Torches, Poppy said. Ah, well, you're lucky you ain't got any burns. I'd have to whip up a new batch of ointment, and I'm right out of moon daisies. Avery put a plate of fresh, gently steaming muffins in front of Poppy and glanced at her, adding a large mug of tea, and then set out the crumpets and, yes, of course, Nutella for Alex. Actual witchcraft, he breathed. Forget the calories. He'd done enough exercise last night and a little bit this morning. Poppy laughed. Sorry, he's still new to all of this. So, where's Lilith? We should really thank her for... Oh, I have absolutely no idea, said Avery cheerfully, going back to the mixing bowl. Did you see the portrait on the stairs? Yeah, it looked like it was possibly World War II, Poppy said. Ah, yeah, an old favorite as. Despite knowing perfectly well she can't end Hitler, she still keeps going back. Anyway, how are the muffins? Well, they're amazing, said Poppy in the same sort of tone that she'd been using when she was upstairs with Alex quite recently. I haven't had anything like this in years, and every time I try to make them, they're a total disaster. She picked up the butter Avery set in front of her. It will not surprise you, she told Alex, to learn that I'm a terrible cook. He smiled and slathered a crumpet with Nutella and said, I'm mediocre. We can focus on takeout. Oh, young love, said Avery. I've let Iris know that you're safe, by the way. She says she's got a new phone waiting for you at home. How did she know I needed a phone? Poppy said. You lose your phone a lot? Do you lose your phone a lot? Alex suggested, and then she wrinkled her nose in annoyance. He bit into the muffin and he moaned. This was absolute bliss, like real heaven. Wow. You usually only look like that when you're naked, said Poppy, and he nearly choked on the heaven biscuit. Avery nodded at an iPad set up on the table. I've been watching your shows here, Alex. Axel. You're very good. How do you do that beheading trick anyway? Trade secret, said Alex, swallowing. Honey, we're actual witches, Poppy said. All right, fair enough. Right, so the important thing for you to remember is... His phone pinged a few times in his pocket, but he ignored it as he explained the beheading trick to Avery and finished breakfast. Poppy's feet played with his under the table, and he gave a serious thought to dragging her back upstairs to that bed, but Avery said that there was a train that they could catch in half an hour, so they left sharply. Alex was adding up how long it would take them to get back to his bed in Holborn as Poppy tried on a pair of neat new boots and wrapped herself in a soft woolen shawl. Honestly, this is much warmer than it looks like, she said. Oh, it's not just that, said Avery. Come on, I get shouted at when I delay the trains. Let's go. The village station was a pretty little place with hanging baskets and painted fretwork, and the train came shortly after they waved goodbye to Avery. Compared to the carriage ride that they'd endured the night before, this was like gliding on a magic carpet. Alex was more concerned with kissing and cuddling Poppy than he was with his surroundings, so he didn't really notice until a camera flash went off right inside the carriage that people were indeed looking at them. Well, he was kind of famous, face on buses kind of thing and all that, but the stage disaster had obviously been in the news. Jono told him that there were memes about it. Usually people didn't recognize Alex when he was in his civic clothes. His hair was tied back, no makeup. He did all of that on purpose. Poppy? Mm-hmm, she said, nuzzled against his neck. People are, well, they're watching us. That's probably because you look like a rock star Viking. You're also making out with me on the train. She swatted at her hair, and I think my hair just ate a coffee stirrer off the floor. Well, some of them are taking pictures. You might very well end up online. She shrugged. So, I'm a millennial, Alex. My entire life is online. Yeah, but... He shifted uneasily. He was going to have to tell her. People aren't always kind to people who date people who are, kind of famous. She looked up at him, her mismatched eyes laughing. Alex, love, honey, I'm a witch. I'll just put a hex on them. Will you really? Oh, no, she said as she snuggled against his chest, and Alex should have told her the truth then, but he took the coward's way out and said nothing. At Liverpool Street, she balked at the central line. Yeah, I know it's probably not cursed, but do you really want to take the risk and ride it? So instead they got a cab back to Alex's flat. The route took them past St. Paul's Cathedral, its dome rising majestically all above the city, the dome that had famously been added to the whole cathedral after it had burned to ashes during the Great Fire of London. Was that really only last night? Had that really happened? Had the ache in his shoulder and the sting in his forehead... They said that it was real, but he still couldn't quite believe the whole thing. Hey, what about your car? Poppy asked as they went up the steps of the flat. Oh, crap. It'll probably have been towed or clamped by now, won't it? Maybe he could get Jono to go do something about it. Surely that was the sort of thing that a manager was for, right? Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I shouldn't have made you abandon the car like that. Oh, well, it could have been worse. Imagine if we'd driven into the Great Fire of London. They would definitely have burned us at the stake if they saw the car. Witches weren't burned, Poppy said as Alex picked up the parcel before he unlocked the door. I think they might have made an exception, Alex said. That this says this for you, this package here. Poppy frowned at the label and then laughed. It's Iris. She sent my new phone here. How do you think she knew that we were going to come here? Alex grabbed her around the waist and drew her into the flat after him. Her hips were nestled against his so very nicely, and she raised her eyebrows about what she felt there, as if there hadn't been snogging all the way back. Rapunzel, anyone with eyes could know what we were going to do. They could? So Iris knew? Alex let his hands wander down over the curve of her waist to her lovely backside and rocked his hips against hers. All that kissing and fondling on the train had left him in a state of semi-desperation. Iris definitely knew what my intentions with you were, and I'm assuming this is her way of saying she doesn't object to me. In his pocket, Alex's phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was Jono, silencing the ringer before tossing it onto the sofa. Now, we have some very important plans that involve my bed. Later, as they sat in bed, Poppy set up her new phone and Alex used his to order takeout as promised. He leaned back against the headboard and watched her fiddle with the settings, laughing at herself as she set up the voice recognition, picking at the boring health food snacks, which were the only thing that he had to eat in his whole place. Her hair sprawled out contently over the pillows, her cheeks were flushed, and her lips were gently swollen from all the kissing that they'd been doing. Alex would not have been surprised if bluebirds fluttered in and out of her hair. I'm so completely in love with you, he thought to himself, which was insane. This time last week, he didn't even know she existed. Surely he'd fallen into bed with girls this quickly before, but never in actual love. Pretty much ever since he turned around and seen Poppy standing there on the street, the rain sparkling around her like fairy dust, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He hadn't felt this kind of excitement since he'd first picked up his great-grandpa's magic kit. And at the thought, he felt his smile dim a bit. Great-grandpa Rain, whom Alex had never met, the dusty magic set in Grandma's attic with those photos of the great Magnifico, now looking glamorous and suave. He wanted to tell Poppy how he felt when he first opened that box and how he'd known that he was meant to be an illusionist. Now he felt the same way now, and how he knew that he was meant to be with her, but how could he? Without telling her everything else. Without telling her why he needed to become Axel Storm, why being Alex Rain wasn't enough, why he'd locked Sandy Grubb away in a box inside that he never wanted to open. He watched Poppy's hair steal the vegetable crisp as she poked at her phone. Surely she would understand, right? It wasn't as if he'd done anything terrible. It was just a thing that he had to explain to her. And then there would be no secrets between them. Like the one Sarah told you about Poppy being adopted. He thought to himself, well, sure, that wasn't his secret to tell, was it? She'd be mad if she found out that he knew, probably, but that was a conversation for another day. Poppy, he said, and she looked up. I want to tell you something. She quirked an eyebrow at him. Geez, sounds ominous. It isn't. It's just, there's some stuff about myself I haven't told you. That got her attention. Poppy put down her phone and said, okay, bad stuff? No, well, not good stuff, but I haven't done anything bad, I promise you that. There's some things I'd rather forget. Poppy shook her head, like getting drunk and cursing an amulet that causes chaos to be loosed all over London? Well, no, now that you put it that way. But she was frowning. I really should call Iris. Do you think this thing's working yet? She poked at her phone again. And we will call Iris. I just really need to. But her attention was gone. I need to know what Lilith meant that my magic was chaos. Like, am I just going to be stuck making messes forever, stumbling from one disaster to the other? I can't really do that, Alex. Her shoulders slumped slightly. I really can't. Hey, he reached out to her. Even if you do, I'll still be here. Yeah, sure, said Poppy, tapping at her phone again. Hey, I will. I love you, he thought. I'll always be here for you. But right then, Poppy's phone rang, and she shot Alex a distracted look. Yeah, because you're always known for your attention span when it comes to women. Anyway, Iris, hi. She answered her phone before he could respond to that. Yeah, I'm at Alex's. How did you know that anyway? She got out of bed, and Alex watched her go longingly. She wore his t-shirt and nothing else, and he wanted to drag her back down into bed and never let her leave again. You're not known for your attention span when it comes to women, played again in his head. Well, no, he wasn't, he supposed. But that's why it stung. Yelena had probably told her that. But Alex had never been emotionally involved like this before. He'd never been in love with any of the other women. He'd never wanted a relationship with them, to wake up in the morning beside them, to argue over what TV show to watch, to cook a terrible dinner, to snog in public until teenagers made fun of them. He wanted those things with Poppy, and he should show her that. Surely he could, just by staying around. Hell, he had nothing else to do right now. While the insurance people did their interminable work, he was just hanging around and doing nothing. He could take the time to plan some really lovely things with Poppy and show her what she meant to him. He really ought to be working on his act, maybe thinking up some new tricks, maybe filming some TikToks to keep things interesting. But right now, all he could think about was Poppy, Poppy, Poppy. He could hear her in the living room now, taking agitated tones. Was Iris angry with her for what had happened yesterday? Did she think that Poppy had done this on purpose, or that she lacked control? Surely, as Poppy's mentor, she knew that this was at least partly her fault. Or maybe she was telling Poppy what Sarah had told Alex. Maybe this was a really serious situation and that Poppy needed support. He got out of bed and pulled on his boxers and a t-shirt. It wouldn't do to let her get distracted at this point. Alex Rain, you are one conceited bastard, he thought to himself. He met her in the doorway and immediately could tell whatever Iris had said, it hadn't been good. I've been summoned, she said flatly. She pushed past him and started searching for her clothes. By Iris? No, by the coven. Apparently we need to talk. Alex winced. Do you want me to come with you? Poppy shuddered. No offense, Alex, but the last thing that we need is an outsider there. He couldn't help but feel a bit stung by that. Hadn't he and Poppy gone through an intense bonding experience? Several of them, in fact. Wasn't he completely in love with her? All right, she didn't need to know that yet, and it was probably best not to scare her away by saying that, but she stopped, holding a bra in one hand. Look, I didn't mean it like that. I just mean it's something Fiona said. Fiona from last night? Is she telling tales on you? No, yes, but look, okay. She said, Poppy looked up at him and shook her head. It's just, look, it's witch stuff, okay? You wouldn't really be helpful by being there. I could try, he offered, taking her bra and flinging it back onto the bed. At least that was his intention, but Poppy held on to it and glared at him. Is that your solution for everything? Just go back to bed? Look, I know it's good and everything, but there's more to life, you know? Hey, he stepped back. I do know that. I have feelings. I never said you didn't have feelings, she said as she fastened her bra without looking at him. But face it, Alex, you do have a bit of a reputation. That hurt all the more for being true. You were seeing Elena when we met, and that was just last week. Every photo of you online, you're with a different girl. You're definitely a player. Alex stared dumbstruck as Poppy went around pulling on the rest of her clothes. Is that what you think? He finally managed. What? No, yeah. She paused, boots in her hand. Look, I know you're not a long-term kind of guy. We're having fun, right? But sooner or later, she broke off. Sooner or later what? It doesn't really matter. Alex heard the harshness in his own voice as he repeated, sooner or later what, Poppy? There'll be some reason that you'll break up with me. There always is, she added, half to herself. What is that supposed to mean? She exhaled hard. Look, I'm not the sort of girl that guys like to date, right? Am I? Alex could only stare at her. She wasn't like any girl that he'd dated before or even ever met before. She wasn't really like anybody. She fiddled with her hair and she couldn't look at him. Can we please talk about this another time? I'm in enough shit as it is. I don't need to have a fight with you too. She made to move past him and Alex darted in front of her. You really think that this is just all about Beep Boo? Well, isn't it? She tried to step around him again and Alex reached out to take her arm. Her hair shot out and shoved him away. For fuck's sake, Poppy hissed. And he wasn't sure if she was talking to him or her hair. She laughed bitterly. Well, if that isn't the perfect demonstration. Of what? Her hair had been as strong as any of his limbs, and Alex's wrist felt bruised. Of why this isn't a long-term prospect. Look, even my hair is chaotic. Alex, sooner or later, you'll get tired of all the constant adventures, and you'll just want to go off and do your 6 nightly shows a week, where you're inundated with sexy half-dressed Valkyries who know perfectly well that you're only in it for that. Poppy. She moved past him then and he chased her out into the living room. Why are you being so weird about all of this? She stiffened at that but kept moving. Poppy, listen, it's not all about that for me. Not with you. Well, what else is it? You want to spend your entire life being rescued from the wrong century or being stalked by ghost mummies or mad living figureheads? That's just this week. Lilith said my magic is chaos, and she wasn't joking. Lilith, who you've never even met before, how could she possibly know? I don't know, maybe Iris told her. Iris told her that, and wouldn't tell you. Well, who else would she have learned it from? I don't know, maybe your real parents? The words were out of his mouth before he could stop them. Poppy went more still than any of those painted figureheads. What did you say? Fuck. Nothing. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any. My real parents? Poppy stared blindly at nothing. My mom and dad are not. No, it's just something that your cousin said, Alex said miserably. But she was high, and Sarah was high. Sarah, the goddamn paragon of virtue who against all odds measured, was high. Christ, Alex, try and make something more realistic up next time, will you? And with that, she whirled out the door. No, Poppy, listen, It hadn't even shut before she was back. But against all of Alex's hopes, what she did was march to the sofa, pick up her phone, and march back out of the apartment again. If there is a next time, she retorted, and then she was gone. Though we adore men individually, we agree that as a group, they're rather stupid. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I mean, what was he thinking? Why would he say that to her? What an insane thing to say. Alex, I was on your side. Don't be a dummy dumb. Yeah, no problem. I can definitely do that for you, Sophie. I think I'm going to start just making ringtones for everybody because it's a lot of fun. What was the other one that I was going to make for Naisa? I can't remember. It was like a voicemail or something in Madame Weatherbury's voice. I think it's hilarious. I hated that. That was awful. I'm really sad for her. I'm sad for her. Poor Poppy. That's not how you want to find out that you're adopted. That's not the way. That's not the way. I guess it makes sense that like Essie's her cousin in Essex because like it's clearly not her cousin from her adoptive family. Essie must be like her real cousin, like her blood cousin. I assume. I'm making this up. I don't actually know. I don't know any spoilers. You guys know I don't do spoilers. This is just me like ruminating on possibilities. If ever I talk like this, it's always just me like guessing, you know? I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to give spoilers. I'm definitely not. Sorry, I have hiccups always, every day. That was a bummer. Okay, just a reminder, Monday morning book club is going to be earlier at 8 instead of 8:30 because I have a meeting at 9, so I will have to skadooch on time for that. So just remember it's going to be earlier. I will post on Patreon to remind everyone that it's early, but I just wanted to make sure everyone heard it out loud. That's what's going on. I'll probably be on later this afternoon to make slime because I need to make a couple more evergreen slimes. I need to make the cereal. I need to make the Good Hurt. So we will do that this afternoon. What time? I do not know. I need to go to the farmer's market and get my vegetables and fruit for the week and then come back and all that. So I love you all. I'm not really loving Alex right now. I'm a little angry at him. I think I'll grow to love him again potentially, but I'm mad at him right now. I will take you to the market with me, Sophie. Our market's really nice, and the fruits and vegetables are better quality and better price than at the regular grocery store. That's why I get them there, because it's just cheaper. Like the tomatoes are like half the price of what you pay at the grocery store, so I like to get a good deal and also have fresher food. I don't know. That's just what I like. Anyway, yeah, Alex, he did a bad, Gigi. He did a bad. I'm mad at him. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. I will see you all later. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Maybe I will see you online for slime. Maybe I won't, but either way, I'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Bye, guys.